All right. And here we are for our second interview, our faith talk, our opportunity to get to know a member a little better. And I have Janel Geary with me here today. Janel, I'm grateful that you joined us this morning.
No
I'm grateful
problem.
that after everybody saw Cindy's interview, people are still willing to do this. So this is
right.
good. This is good. So as I was telling Cindy last week, 90 days ago, we closed the church for what we thought would be 2 weeks. We said that we were going to close the church on March 12th and the next week, and then we would be back together by Easter at the latest.
Right.
And here we are at mid-June. It's almost like a sci-fi novel where we went into our houses and the whole rest of the world was raptured. And, we just spent the next 90 days making a universe out of our house. So I'm curious to know what people have been up to. I'm curious to know what they've been doing with their time and what life has looked like, especially now that we are at a phase where we are slowly coming back out.
Mm-hmm.
And we have these stories to share. So start by introducing yourself and talking a little bit about how you came to be a member at First Presbyterian Church.
I've been sorry, let me mute that. That would be another church member calling, by the way. So, I've been a church member since I was little. I would say probably first grade. My earliest memory of being in the church was I had watched the youth choir sing. And I remember standing in the hallway begging my mom to let me join the youth choir. And I wasn't quite old enough at that time. So that's one of my first earliest memories. So I grew up in the church. I went to Sunday school, did all the youth group programs, junior high, high school, senior high. And then, was in and out during college and then came back. And when I was in college, my mom was an advisor for the junior high youth group. Okay. So once in a while I would tag along after I got out of college and help. Since my degree was in recreation, she thought it would be fun if I came and did games for the youth group. So I would tag along and, help out with the junior high youth group for a while when she was an advisor. And then in the mid-90s, when Pam Sigler was the youth director, she suggested that she needed help and they brought me on. And so then I became one of the part-time youth directors at the church for 10 years. And so through that, then Caden was born during that tenure of working with the youth group. So, he was brought in having to go to all the youth group meetings as an infant and a toddler. And then, here I am. Choirs and youth programs. I directed the Christmas programs for a couple years, back when we had large Christmas programs with the kids for Sunday school. So.
And now you're an elder and we make you do all the business stuff.
Yep. I became a deacon when I was in high school and now an elder. I cut the line. I'm not going to be a minister like my brother.
That's awesome. So for these last 90 days, what has quarantine been like for you?
Well, it's funny because due to my health conditions, quarantine kind of started much earlier.
Sure.
I was still allowed to go out. I still went to work, but January, February, my social activities had cut down because of being in so much pain. I was going to work, coming home, and that's about all I could handle. So socially, my quarantine started before everybody, so that when we went into, and then I physically went into quarantine a week before everybody else, because I thought I was having surgery. So socially, when everybody else around was having a hard time not having the social outlet and seeing their friends and going out, I had already worked myself into that.
Yes.
So quarantine here, I've been blessed because my mom came up. So to what quarantine would have been by myself with Caden, I've now had my mom with me. So I've not been alone. Zoom is huge. I've never used Zoom until quarantine.
Yeah.
We socially, I get a lot through our meetings. We have the session meetings and our worship music and the arts meetings. I have to Zoom for work a couple times a week. I've not done any Zooms with my friends, but I've talked on the phone. Quarantine's hard. Surprisingly, I attend a lot of church services through Zoom. So, there's our church service, and then we check in with my brothers. So I have the White Plains Presbyterian Church that we generally hit up every Sunday. This Sunday, we listened to part of John Knox Presbyterian Church in Ohio, because we got our dates wrong, and I thought my niece was being confirmed yesterday. But it's next week, so I'll listen to John Knox again next week. And we've checked in with Vanderbilt in Florida, where my mom attends church. So, nice. Going to church with our service every Sunday, and then just adding a couple in. So there's been a lot more worship, and it's interesting to see how other churches are dealing with it differently.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What, like a typical day? It's been funny to me to hear people describe their typical days, because it has changed so much.
Yeah.
Like with my kids, usually they had to be at school by 8. That's out the window. Like that's not going to happen. And we've, because the schooling, the online schooling that they've given us only takes like an hour or 2 to get through.
Right.
So we've had to add a lot of weird structure. So we have like art time now from 11 to 12 every day, which we've never done before. What does a day in the life look like? Are you?
Yeah. So early on, just doing readings, just because of being into programming with my job and everything, different readings about homeschools and different stuff. And the biggest thing they always said was to always keep a schedule, which I mean, you've done with your kids. You've made a schedule and you keep it. So I'm working at home.
Right.
So our office still opened at 8:30 every morning.
Okay.
The office wasn't per se in, but everything was on my computer.
But your phone went live at 8:30.
My phone went live at like 7:30. But yeah. So I got up, ate breakfast, took my shower, and was ready for work by 8:30. Now, was I fully makeup and hair? No, but I was. I was showered and clean.
Right.
And then work through the day. We became very rigid. Lunchtime was lunchtime, and we stuck to the rules. Now, the funny thing about quarantine is my whole house has been reorganized and redirected. I have a 3-bedroom tri-level. So one room has now become completely my office.
Okay.
There's a desk, the computer, and that's where I'm sitting right now. Printer, computer, everything. We moved Kate into the basement. He's got a whole bottom level. And then the other room became a guest room because my mom is here. So that's part of every day. We're doing a little, after the work hour was done, then we transitioned to arranging the house. So, but always try to get the walk in with the dogs, but I'm very schedule oriented.
Yes.
It's hard because of awaiting surgery, I fall into the high risk. I fall into a high risk anyways because of, I do have underlying conditions.
Yeah.
And my mom's high risk because of her age.
Yes.
And we have Caden, who works in a grocery store.
In the paramedic, exactly.
Is, works for the fire department. So he's doing, so it works that he is on the bottom level. He's reclusive. He will eat meals with us. We've relaxed a little on that, but a lot of times he's just down there. If we did arrange the house, so if somebody were to get sick, we have curtain rods with extra curtains that can be extra barricades between door openings and stairways, so that meals could be set. My mom's an RN by profession, so she was very ready.
She was up for this.
Yes, right, very ready in case something happened that we could quarantine within the house. So, but it's hard.
It's really challenged people, I think, to be creative.
It has.
And in some ways, which this kind of gets to my next question, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Amelia and I talk about how, like, as boring as this is, and as long as this is going on, we were in a rut before, and this has forced us to reimagine parenting and reimagine schooling and reimagine family time, which is not necessarily a bad thing.
No.
Where do you see, I guess, like, where do you see the positives in this, or where do you see God moving in the midst of all this?
I just, like I said, I have my mom here.
Yeah.
That is a blessing. I mean, as much as I'm 48 years old and didn't think I would have to be told what to do from my mom at 48 years old.
Right.
It's a blessing. I wouldn't have had, I mean, I've had 4 months with her that normally, it's just a phone call away, but now it's in person. And I think just just from talking to people and the closeness that the families have gotten, being able to, or should I say, being forced to spend more time with each other. And you said it, being creative on what they can do together. So it's not just binge watching the next favorite show, because not everybody can do that because they have kids who aren't able to watch that show. And you have to come up with creative things. I mean, our Scrabble game is out, ready to be played.
Nice.
You kind of dig out the different things that you can do with the family, and conversations happen that otherwise wouldn't have, because everybody's busy running in, running out, going here, going there. Now you're home, you're here. I think people have figured out how to cook again.
Yeah.
And nobody knew how to cook. It's amazing to me.
Yeah.
You go onto Facebook and the people sharing the recipes just because they weren't cooking before.
Yeah.
So, and that was hard for a lot of people.
That's amazing to me. You go to the grocery store and the number of things that are still always low or out of stock. And it's like, was nobody doing this before? Were you not cleaning your house before? Were you not cooking before? The answer is no, they weren't.
No, they weren't. I mean, certainly, I think the cooking, nobody was doing the cooking that they are now. So I know, I mean, I get the hoarding of the cleaning supplies and stuff. A lot of the businesses, we work with children, so we at work have to hoard cleaning supplies. So, but no, you're right. It's random food items that are just out all the time now.
Well, and I know that people baked a lot of bread at the beginning of this, but we still can't get yeast in Illinois to save our lives. Like,
I haven't tried. I did some baking, but it wasn't anything that needed yeast. So, but that's if you go into the shop, like the shelves with cake mixes.
Yeah.
The baking aisle is gone because
it's
that's
empty.
what people are doing.
Yep. Yeah. Well, we at the church have had to obviously pivot quite a bit, moving online, and I hear a lot of people talk about how much church has changed in these 90 days. I think it's kind of important for people to keep the historical perspective in mind, that the church has been in a constant move over the last 175 years. It's changed a lot. Just in your time, how have you seen the church change since you were, young and singing in the youth choir and all these years?
Well, it's, sometimes that's hard to figure out because I've grown and changed.
Sure.
So it's part of how I've changed, not how the church has changed. But I mean, it used to be everybody came from the same area. You went to school together, you went to church together.
Right.
And now everybody is so transient and so widespread that it's hard to get together at a certain time. I think, and I could be wrong, I would love to hear a youth's perspective on this, because I wonder if our youth group would, or the youth in the church would be more willing to hop on Zoom and have a discussion, because they don't have 20 minutes of transport to get there and 20 minutes to get back, and have to make sure mom can get them there and back, because not everybody has a car or can drive. That I think maybe this is our opportunity to talk with our youth and throw it up there and do virtual. And I mean, that's what they do all the time anyways. They could be sitting on the couch next to their friend and they're still FaceTiming each other.
Right.
Even though they're there, and they could literally turn sideways and FaceTime them in person, they're on the phone. So maybe because our youth are so spread out, and that's a change from when I was a kid. We went to school. I mean, when I was in the youth group, we had 4 basic schools that everybody went to.
Okay.
But when the youth group came together, there was a chunk of people from each school.
Yeah.
And it was the schedule seemed easier back then. Everybody's got so many things to do now that I don't think the kids were overscheduled so much the way they are now. Which is not a bad thing. It's just there's so many more opportunities now for kids to have.
Yeah.
But I think maybe if we try throwing them up there and doing, a 45-minute youth group meeting via the internet, that they might jump on and participate, because it's easier to give up literally strictly 45 minutes on the internet than travel time and moving and getting ready and all that.
It's telling. My confirmation class 2 years ago had 9 kids in it, and they went to 8 different schools.
8 schools out of 9 kids. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, it was, and so finding a common time was really difficult.
Right. Right.
Where would you like to see the church go? What kind of changes would you like to see the church?
It's funny because, I mean, like you said, we're constantly evolving. I don't want to revolve. I don't want to go backwards. For many years, I kept thinking, oh, I just remember how it used to be. I remember how it used to be. Life is not how it's used to be. And if anything taught us this, the quarantine has taught us this. Life is not how it used to be, and it's not going to be how it used to be. So we do have to think about how to evolve. I would like to see, I like the idea that we're going to stay with some kind of virtual programming. I think we have a better outreach by doing that. Like I said, if we can figure out how to do it with the outreach to the kids, we might get them farther in the doors, some of the days. I don't know. I would like to see small groups like we talked about in session and worship and music on doing small groups. I think if we start having some small groups with different topics, that we might end up having a more cohesive total congregation.
Yeah.
Because you might have people in a couple different small groups. And it might weave our congregation tighter by having those.
Yeah, people get to know each other.
We're kind of spread out in our congregation, and I think we need a little bit more cohesiveness.
Yeah, I think the small groups give a chance for people to develop relationship.
Yes,
which is
absolutely.
That's the glue that's missing.
Yes.
So. Well, I wonder, as we begin to come out of this, and again, you've got surgery coming up, so your quarantine's going to go for a little longer. But
yeah, I got another month of it.
Another month to go, but there is light at the end of the tunnel. Illinois' numbers have looked really good, and
yes, we have.
And we're moving pretty quickly towards phase 4. And as people come out, I wonder if they can identify something that they've come to appreciate in particular about their pre-COVID life. Something that they took for granted, maybe didn't really think about before this all happened. And they've kind of come around to see like that was really precious, or that was really important.
Human contact. I mean, for me, that's one. Just being able to, you can have converses over the Zoom, but just, a hand on a shoulder or just something that's just a human contact. The laughter of children is important to me because I'm here. I don't have any little children here yet. But I have brand new neighbors, but they moved in literally the weekend that the quarantine started.
Yeah.
So I've been able to say hi and get the name of the dad. He has a daughter that visits every couple weekends, and she's in 1st grade, and she just wants to come over and talk and play. And I miss human laughter. I miss children. It's good. I can see them out playing in the neighborhood now. They're riding their bikes, they're running around, but I still can't go up and talk to the kids, and they can't come over, and they like to, they talk and they play. And I think that's what I miss the most, is I miss hearing and seeing and interacting with children, because they're what's it. We got to help them grow. So
what do you find yourself struggling with in this moment with so like human contact, obviously, but but is there something about the future that troubles you, this post-COVID?
Yes, I think a lot of people, because the quarantine has gone on so long, it wasn't a couple weeks here, you know, it's been months. I'm afraid that we're going to lose some people to a hermit life because there's still fear of going out there and getting sick. And then when you add in the protests and the rallies and the riots, I think we're going to lose it. And I'm really terrified that it's going to be our older generation who have so much still to give the rest of us. I'm afraid we're going to lose some to the hermit life. And I think that's one thing that when we start the small groups at church, and when we come back into live in person, we have to make sure that we're reaching out to some of our older members and family members, because I think we're going to lose some to, you know, a more closed off hermit type, you know, hobbit life we'll give. So,
and I was encouraged to see the turnout from the outdoor worship service, the devotion service that
I saw the picture.
There were a number of older folks at that event, which was encouraging, you know, that if we make it safe and if we make it comfortable and if we explain the risks, those people will come,
right,
if we've done our due diligence. So
I just hope, and again, like you said, due diligence, we just have to be proactive and keep in contact with everybody and just make sure they understand that we are making it safe for them to come back. So,
well, that's all my questions. Do you have any questions for me?
I don't. I mean, it's a challenge. It's a challenge to get through. And I mean, you know, I've got extra challenges, but so does everybody else. I mean, I luckily did not so much have to e-learn my student. He's a high school student, but it doesn't come without, I mean, you need to sit by them while they're learning. I didn't need to sit by him while he was learning, but I had to say, you only have an hour left to check in the school. You better get up.
Exactly.
I mean, kind of those things, you know, they still had certain times to check in, and teenager, so he wants to sleep and that. So it's been challenging, and I didn't have, you know, certain challenges that younger families have, which I know had to be through the roof challenges. But, you know, in fact, we all have our different challenges, you know.
We do.
Solitude is a horrible challenge. And I'm so grateful my mom's here that I did not have, because for the first 6 weeks of quarantine, Caden was not here. He had to make a choice on where he was going to stay for 6 weeks, you know, for the first 6 weeks. We thought it was going to be over. So he had to make a choice because he couldn't go back and forth. So he made his choice to be up north, and that was fine. But I would have literally been completely alone if not for my mom being here. So I understand we have so many church members who are in complete solitude, and that is rough and that is hard. So I pray for them all the time. It's not easy.
I think, like Pam often says, that we're in the same storm but not in the same boat. And
that is correct.
All of us have the experience of living through this time, but every boat has its own challenges.
Right. That is for sure.
So. Well, thank you for joining me for this.
You're
this
welcome.
Was fun.
You're
I hope
welcome.
people got to know you a little better, and we'll look for this online in a couple of days. And
okay, sounds good.
And then start thinking about who you want to nominate for the next one.
I could tell you that right now.
Who do you want to nominate for the next one?
I'm going out there. I would like to see some of our youth.
Okay.
So I was thinking, you know, Binsana or Jalissa or Precious.
All right.
You could hit up one of the girls and see
all right.
what they have to offer. They might jump in. Most of the kids, they're done with schoolwork. Not yours, but most of the kids are.
Yeah, I know. Mine have a week left.
Right.
I'll put the challenge out and I'll see who we can get.
All right. Sounds good.
Thank you, Janelle. You have a good day.